Today we are making a really fun spin on a classic potato salad, and that is Moroccan potato salad. And I promise you, it's unlike anything that you've ever had before. It is bright, it is tasty. The best part is there is no mayo at all. So you can take this with you on picnics, cookouts, all the things, and you don't have to worry about the mayo spoiling. I'm Sam from Bites of Wellness. Let's get cooking. First thing we have to do when making any potato salad is we have to cook the potatoes. You can actually do this in advance, 1 to 2 days in advance if you're short on time. It's one of the things I love to actually do when I know I'm going to have a busy week is to make some potatoes in advance. Whole, you can do a lot of things with them. The easiest way to cook potatoes is to either cook them on the stove or in the Instant Pot. Today I'm going to do the stove method, but the Instant Pot is just as easy, and directions for that are on the website. I've got baby potatoes here. You can see they're not very big. These are going to cook up a lot faster than whole potatoes, and we're going to wait to cut them up until they are cooked so that they can keep their shape super easy. So I've got a pot of cold water, and in that pot I'm just going to add the potatoes that have already been washed. And we're going to throw this on the stove covered and cook these until they are fork tender, and I'll show you what that means when they're ready. It takes about 15 minutes or so. The brightness of this dish comes from the red onions, the red wine vinegar dressing, and all that flavorful parsley that we're going to add at the end. So first we have to chop our onions. Remember, this is potato salad. We want small pieces of that red onion, nothing too big. So when you're cutting your onion, I usually like to cut the top and a little bit of the bottom. And then if you want to be fancy, slowly cut in to the oven. Watch your fingers. Tell you how much of a nerd I am. When I was a little kid, my second grade science project was a glove with little thimbles in the fingernails so that I could play in the kitchen with my mom and not hurt my fingers. So I've been at this for a long time. And then you're going to slice in, again, making sure that your fingers don't get chopped off. And this helps you make very small, even-sized slices without having to do too much. And at the end, we just cut around. And if you haven't implemented a trash bowl in your cooking, especially if you do any kind of prepping, I highly recommend it. It's just a bowl on your counter. I've got a little bit of tears in my eyes, people. This onion is fierce. A bowl on the counter to just kind of put all of your scraps so you're not constantly having a cluttered cutting board, and you're not always running to the trash can either. So there's my tip for the day. So one thing I know turns a lot of people off is how harsh onions can taste. So what we are going to do to combat that is to add the red wine vinegar of the dressing right over the onions and let them sit and marinate in this as we cook the potatoes and do everything else. This really helps to bring that bite from the onions down, mellows them out. It's almost like pickling them, but a much faster process. So we're just going to let this sit over to the side and chop up the parsley and wait on the potatoes and everything else. But there's your tip for how to make onions a little bit more palatable. The last step in prepping ahead while the potatoes are going is just to cut up your parsley. I've got flat leaf parsley. That is what I prefer to use. A quick tip, if you struggle with keeping your herbs fresh after you bring them home from the grocery store, is to just simply put them in a glass or a cup with some water in the bottom and then throw this in the fridge. I'm able to keep these for about 2 weeks in that way. No need to put plastic or anything else over top of them. So I need about 1/3 of a cup. So I'm just going to pull the parsley off, and just like cilantro, the thin leaves or the thin stems of parsley are edible. The thicker ends are not so much. They can get kind of tough and woodsy. So, but right there at the top where all of the leaves are, perfectly edible and packed full of flavor, so don't waste them. Don't feel like you have to pull every single leaf off. I used to be that way. And then we're just gonna finely chop this parsley up. How kind of big the pieces are totally up to you. Just keep mulling over it until they are the size that you want. You want it to be a pretty salad, so don't make them too small. And now all we have to do is wait for our potatoes to cook and then cool down. The potatoes have been cooking for about 15-20-ish minutes, and I want to show you what fork tender looks like so that you know what to look for. So essentially I'm just going to stick a fork right in the potato, and if it comes out, if it goes through easily, it's fork tender. That's the name of it. If you feel any resistance at all, continue to let these cook until you can easily poke a fork through the potatoes. So now we just have to drain this and let the potatoes cool off so we can cut them into pieces. The potatoes have fully cooled, but before we add those, we're going to quickly make the dressing, which is just the red wine vinegar and the onions that we've already soaked together. You can see the colors changed some, and a lot of that harshness is out of the onions. We're going to add olive oil. We've got our spices, salt, garlic powder, and cumin. Just going to stir that together. And this is the dressing that's going to coat the potatoes instead of that mayonnaise-based dressing that we're all kind of used to when you think potato salad. So I'm going to put that to the side, and we're going to drop the potatoes right in here, mix it up, add the parsley, we'll be done. So since these are baby potatoes, they're going to cut up really quickly. We just want to cut them in halves, maybe quarters. Just think bite size. And again, we're going to put those right directly into the bowl with the rest of the ingredients. I'll show you when we're done. A great tip, I think I mentioned this before, but these potatoes can be cold right out of the fridge. So if you want to do this in advance, or if you find yourself with some extra cooked potatoes, this is a great way to use those up. Once you have those potatoes all cut, we're just going to stir this around, really try to coat those potatoes well with this dressing, get the onions added in, and then we're going to add the very last ingredient, which is that flat leaf parsley, which we have already chopped. You're going to see how beautiful this salad is. It's super flavorful. So the great thing about this salad is that it can be served at room temperature or cold right out of the fridge. It's delicious. It actually gets better as it sits. So this would be great for if you want to do picnics. Remember, there's no mayo in this. You could take it to potlucks. It would be great for like a different twist on maybe like your Easter or holiday spreads if your family typically does a potato salad like mine does. So I just want to show you how beautiful this is. Super simple, super easy. It's packed with flavor, and it's unlike any potato salad you've ever had. Now it's time for the taste test, the real test. Okay, that is so good. It's a lot different than what I'm used to when I think of potato salad, but it's really just that cumin in there has a little bit of a smokiness. The brightness from that red wine vinegar really comes through on the potatoes, and as this sits, it's just going to get better and better. If you love this recipe, make sure you hit that follow button and check out the comments below to get a direct link to the website bitesofwellness.com. Thanks so much. Fork in the mouth. Oh, it's so good. Okay, you ready? Oh. Oh. What? And just, my brain goes like 1,000 miles an hour. Okay. Alexa, stop.